What's happening, guys? Scott from Hornet's Nest. Welcome back to episode 26 of Tutorial Tuesday. As always, so good to see you. And in today's episode, I want to show you this. It looks so damn good. It's the IFEI, it's the Integrated Fuel and Engine Indicator or Instrument Panel. It's beautiful. It's working. I showed you last episode in 25 how to build it, assemble it, and wire it. And then this episode, I'm showing you how to connect it to the computer, how to export that game data. It's a bit of a tricky one. This one doesn't export as nicely as the AMPCD. Why? Because DCS made a couple of exportable by default viewports, the DDIs, the AMPCD, the TDAC, your main PFDs, primary flight displays, and multifunction displays. But the IFEI and the RWR and the SARI and all that, they're not natively exportable. Why? Because they're very niche to a specific plane, and it meant that they would have to go do that for every plane, and it kind of went against their philosophy of having generic monitor profiles. But that's okay. I'm going to show you with a couple of lines, copy and pasting. You don't even have to think about it, how to do it yourself, and you can do this for any module, any viewport that you want to export. So let's get into it. Really cool episode ahead. Now, what we've got here is we're using the StarTech 4-in-1 HDMI to USB converter. It's what we showed in episode 20. Anything that you think that you're missing out on this episode and it doesn't quite make sense, episode 20 is the building blocks to this episode. It's going to show you how to get that monitor export file, how to edit it, and you'll kind of see where we are now. But don't worry, if you haven't seen it, you don't need to see it prior to this. Just go have a look at it after this episode. So we've got the StarTech. It's going to have a couple of connections, and I've gone and labeled them, AMPCD, IFEI, and then we're going to go around the rest, and that's also in line with the interconnect. A trick with this is, make sure you're plugging them in, if you're plugging them in and out all the time, that you do them in order that you want them to show up. So AMPCD was the first one, and it's going to be display port number 3. I've got 2 monitors already on my desktop. The AMPCD is now my 3rd monitor. And now we're going to plug in our IFEI monitor. And that's going to go in there as well. There we go. And it connects via just a 5-volt accessory bus to power the screen. So now that it's plugged in, and I can see them already showing, and you can see your extended desktop when you plug them in, that way you know they're working. We go right click on our main display and we go display settings. And you can see here that we've got my monitor set up. If you remember from last episode, those that are rejoining us, those that are joining us for the first time, number 1 is my 2K monitor, number 2 is the 1080 monitor, and then I've got my AMPCD vertically aligned on monitor 3. We can see that it's got an added monitor 4. Now you can choose where you want this to go. Remembering from last episode, it's all about X and Y coordinates, referencing from the top left of monitor 1. So the top of monitor 1 would be X equals 0, Y equals 0. The bottom left corner would be X equals 0, Y equals 1440, because it is 1440 pixels in height, because it's a 2K monitor. If we then had to have a look at what the top right of monitor 1 would be, Y equals 0, because it's the top, and we go across to 2560, because it's 2560 pixels across, X equals 2560. Why am I doing it this way and not using Helios? Because a lot of you asked, have you heard of Helios? It's a lot easier. I tried using Helios. I don't know, maybe I didn't give it enough time, maybe I'm just not open-minded enough. It didn't suit my way of working with it. I didn't enjoy the process. Maybe I can be corrected on that. But I found this so much easier, and even if you were using Helios, it's really hard to debug something if you don't know the fundamentals behind it. So that's why we're doing it this way, and you can do it with anything. So how are we going to rearrange this to make sense for us? Well, we know that X equals 0 along this, and it's a pretty good starting point. The reason I'm not going to put monitor 4 there is because we don't actually know what monitor 4's X position starts at, because it's kind of floating. There's a bit of a gap there. It's a bit odd. So why don't we just keep it with X equals 0 and just build downwards? Because that way we always know we're working with the correct X position. We can always calculate the rest because it auto snaps up, but it doesn't auto snap to the left without shifting things. So let's go pop there. There we go. And we're going to press apply. You're not going to really see much change on your monitors now because it doesn't know. It is just where it references. But we can see we can grab our mouse on monitor 1 and we can drag it down and you can see it there on the IFEI. And it's just an extended display. That's pretty cool. That is the monitor setup done. We can now exit out of that. So the process of getting exportable displays is a 3-step tango essentially. Step 1 is set up your monitors. Step 2 is tell DCS what to export. And step 3 is tell it where to export. So we've done step 1, let's get into step 2. Let's go and press Windows E to open up the File Explorer, and we want to navigate to our DCS install location. Let's open up 2 files. The first one we're going to open up is our monitor setup. That is in config, monitor setup, and we've got Scott's Cockpit. And this is where, if you're joining for the first time, you're going to be a bit confused, like, where do you get that file? Episode 20 shows you how to do that. But it is just a copy and paste of one of these default presets, and we've gone and made some modifications. So let's open up Scott's Cockpit. And we can see that we've got what we worked on in episode 20. We've got our center viewport, which is our main game display, and we've got the center MFCD, which is our AMPCD. But where does that name come from? Why do they call it AMPCD? Well, DCS gave it a generic name, so center MFCD could be used across different fleets, and it would give a very similar style multifunctional display screen exported. Well, where do we find that? We go back and we look at our install location of DCS World Open Beta. We go mods, aircraft, the aircraft of our choice, F-18, cockpit, scripts, multi-purpose display group, AMPCD, indicator, and then we got a bunch of files. That is really convoluted to get to, and I don't know how to explain it of where to find it. You just got to kind of like hunt your way through it, and you're looking for certain types of names. On this one, we're looking for AMPCD viewport config. Now, if you're doing this for your own fleet, whether it be F5, F14, whatever, just have a look and I'll show you what to look for. Open it up, and if DCS has natively made it by a default exportable option, you're going to see this line of code here. Try find assigned viewport center MFCD. If it has that line, try find assigned viewport. DCS has given you a name to use. But let's go have a look at the IFEI. Let's go back, and we want to go back to the cockpit folder within our aircraft. Is kind of a good starting point. Cockpit, scripts, IFEI, indicator. And now we can't really find one that says viewport config, but there's one called IFEI init or IFEI initialization. And this is what we're going to open up. If we have a look through it all, and we don't have to look too hard, there's nothing really at the bottom talking about viewports, which means that DCS hasn't natively exported it or natively allowed it to be exported, but we're going to change that. I'm going to copy and paste something. And I'm going to upload on the Colts page and all that, maybe in the description as well, this little string of text in a note document. And you go download that and you copy and paste this as well. If I go Control C on the copy, you'll see it appear here now. Control V. Viewport handling. Do file, it tells you what to do. Update screen space. Try find assigned viewport. That is what we saw in the AMPCD. So now we know we're on the right track. Try find assigned viewport, and it's got a name. This name can be anything. Just don't have any spaces. That's why it's got underscores. You could call it just IFEI. You could call it F18 underscore IFEI. Call it what you want. Just remember what you're calling it. And if you think that this is going to be used for a multi-purpose fleet, and that could be F14, F15, whatever, and you think it's going to do the same job, call it something generic like fuel or engine instruments. And that way each fleet gets that name in their different screens, and it's going to work every time. So I'm only building an F18 cockpit. I'm not really going to be flying anything else other than the Hornet. So I'm going to call it a very Hornet specific name. So we're going to go back to FA underscore 18C underscore IFEI. There we go. Lovely. Try find assigned viewport F18C IFEI, and we are going to press save. We've done 2 steps. We've set up the monitors and we've told it what to export. Step number 3, where to export. So let's go and go back to our Cockpit Lua. How do I tell it where to export? Well, we successfully did the center MFCD. Would you be surprised if I told you just copy and paste that? Control C, chuck it a line down, give it an enter to make it look nice. Now we're exporting to center MFCDs. It's a bit silly. So we're going to call this one FA_18C_ IFEI. Remembering that is the name that we gave it, FA18C IFEI. Now, remembering from episode 20, if you haven't watched it, no stress at all. This is what we're looking at here, X, Y, width, and height. X is the position that it starts along the X axis, referencing the top left of monitor 1. Y is the Y axis position, referencing top left corner of monitor 1. The width and the height is just what is it being exported to. Now, if we open up our picture here and we have a look back at our displays, we are looking at our top of this monitor here, starting at a Y value of 2464. Because it is from the top left, it is 2464 pixels. It's the 1440 plus the 1024, giving you 2464. Now, I'm not going to go into the process of how I calibrate because that took a long time, but I'm just going to give you an idea of what I'm doing here. I want the IFEI display to start at the top and 20 pixels further down. So instead of 2464, we're going to make it 2484. Its width, now I went and guesstimated and kind of tweaked it of how I liked it. There is no right or wrong way to do it, but the width that I came up with was 1480 pixels wide, and the height is 590. But if we look at this, right, we know that our width of this screen, or the resolution, is 600 pixels by 1024. How do we know that? We go right click, display settings, we click and highlight display 4, and it shows you its resolution. It's 600 pixels by 1024. So if we go back to our code, I'm showing a width of this viewport of 1480 pixels wide, but we've only got 1024 to play with. So how does that work? All I can assume is that the IFEI export actually has some blank areas on the left and right of it, allowing it to work. And I will show you when we go upload this now, because X equals 0, Y equals 2484. We should be expecting some pretty good results if we're following the same rules of the AMPCD episode. So let's go and press save. Before we do that, let's actually update our description, because keep this tidy, keep it looking good. It's going to make your life so much easier. The description, this initial part here, is just the overall view space of the DCS game. Now we said we're doing everything from the number 1 monitor all the way down to number 4. And we added another 600 pixels to the Y-axis, so it becomes 3064. And then we've added a new monitor. Monitor number 4 is 1024 by 600, and it is left aligned. Beautiful. So we know that we need to make that gameplay area 2560 by 3064. That was spoken about in episode 20, but I'll still show you why in this one for those that have just joined. And we're gonna go press save again. And we're gonna go open up DCS World. Now what we're gonna do is, you can go and start editing settings in here, and we can go select our monitor preset as AHN Cockpit down here, but you can't manually enter the text. So let's just go apply, and let's go home and launch DCS. We got to edit that gameplay resolution in the actual game itself. The launcher does not allow it. Now, while this is loading up, when we adjust this, remember we've told DCS where to display the main viewport. That was center. it knows it needs to display it referencing the top left corner of display 1, 2560 pixels across and 1440 down. That's my 2K monitor. So we've already told it where the main view is. Where you go see what we're doing now is we go Options, System Resolution. We want it to be this number that we did here, 2560 by 3064, because we are telling DCS every bit of data that I want you to export is going to be found in this monitor setup that is this area wide and high. So we can go Control C and we can go Control V. So I don't want to take it. 2560 by 3064, enter. Changes will not be applied until game restart. Restart now. It is the absolute worst part about it. Every time you want to do this, you're gonna have to restart the game. And when I was doing this and we were busy trialing different viewports, it was starting the game nonstop. So this here, these numbers I'm giving you work for this 7-inch BuyDisplay screen. So if you're using the same screen, the Open Hornet recommended one, these numbers are gonna work for you if you set it up the same way as me. There we go. We can go instant action, F18, ready on the ramp, and let's load into it. The best thing is when you see it go dark, when you're loading up the game, it means it's done it correctly. It's no longer showing my desktop because it's waiting for exported data to show that. It shows we're in the game. So that's the first step, knowing it's gonna work. And then, yeah, look. That's not how you pictured that turning out, did you? No. So this is what I'm talking about that blank space, because here is kind of where that data starts. This is just blank area because we are referencing x equals 0. So this is all blank. I don't know why it's blank. So that's okay. Let's quit the game. Let's get back into our document and I'm going to give you the correct number. X equals minus 480. And you'll think to yourself, how do I go minus 480? It just means it's to the left of that origin point. And I'll show you on the graphic here, this is kind of what that looks like. Now, this number, this X minus 480, will change as your width changes. If you're using the 7-inch BuyDisplay screen, these heights and widths are gonna work really well, and that minus 480 is gonna work as well. So yeah, let's go, press save, and let's reopen the game and have a look. There we go, that is looking very good. Let's press fly. Now that is what I'm calling a pretty cool looking IFE. So yeah, that's it. We've got it there. We've got the fuel, we got the times, the nozzle positions are all active. We just pop our feet on the brakes, we add a bit of power. You can see those nozzles coming up nicely. And then we go take power off. There we go. That's pretty cool. I love it. That's awesome. And let me just show you this. So if we're in our screen here, let's have a look to the right. If we go to night mode on the interior lighting panel, you can see it turns green, ready for that nice backlighting. Couple of things that I would like to do with this. So if we zoom all the way in here, you can almost see there is a reddy brown card or display that kind of blocks everything, which I really like. It's actually really hard to look at text without being things separated by boxes. So I'm gonna create a little overlay, make it out of vinyl that's gonna cover that, and then I'll make a separate episode about that. But that's pretty cool. Now, none of my buttons work because we haven't done the coding. So let's get into that. But to show you that the screens do actively work, mode, quantities, zones for the time, start the lapse time, and there we go, things are looking up. So yeah, really, really cool episode. Yeah, I love it. And then we're gonna get this IFE and video record panel working as well. And you'll see that we are slightly different to the DCS Hornet. We've got left DDI and the HUD. Our switches here are a little bit different because it's a different block number. Open Hornet may not be building the exact same block as the one in the game, but hey, since when have you ever used that panel to begin with? Anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into the coding. Let's go and quit to desktop. We're gonna press yes. All right, last step is to get it coded. And what we've done here is we've added our Pro Micro. It's got a USB connection. And I've just added a very temporary power supply into the ALE board to get it powered and working. The reason for that is the power supply is in the other room. The Cockpit is in a different room. I'm just here at the prototyping table by my workstation. So having this just allows me to power the board without needing to get the power supply unit out. So that's all good. Let's spin it around, connect it up to the computer, and let's get it coded. Alrighty, now that we've got that all sorted, let's get into the coding. And that's actually the really easy part because Hornet has done a wonderful job and it's going to come out with version 0.3.0, which is their software package. But you can get their beta release or their early version of the code now if you want to jump ahead and get it. Just know there might be a couple little bugs. So if we go and open up Hornet software develop. Now, if you haven't followed along other tutorials, you can get this on their GitHub. And it is just under one of their branches, software develop, download that. This is where you're going to get it. So open up software develop. We want to go into embedded and we want to go lower instrument panel. And then we're going to select left LIP module, left lower instrument panel module, and open up that .ino file. And we are going to open that up. Open Hornet, when it was last edited, the version number sort of thing, switches, etc. And all we've got to do is press upload. Let's make sure we have the correct Arduino selected, and that's the Leonardo COM6. Your COM port will be different depending where you plugged it in, but it's showing as a Leonardo because the 32U4 chip at the back, that is a Leonardo chipset. It is just a Pro Micro board with a Leonardo chip. That's why it's showing as Leonardo. And all we've got to do is press upload. While it's uploading, let's get DCS open in the back because once we're in game, that's when we're going to open up DCS BIOS. So there we go, and we're going to press fly. Very cool, and we'll just zoom in on there. Good one. Now let's press Alt Tab and go back to our desktop, and we want to click this little shortcut here. I showed you how to create that shortcut in the BIOS video. It's just a single serial port shortcut to connect COM6. So COM6, because that's our Arduino port, and we're going to press enter, and just press space, and you'll see all the lines of code running. Now, you might ask, do I need to do this for every USB that I connect? I get that question a lot. No, I've done a video on how to connect multiple all together. Just because I'm using one Arduino at this point, at this computer, it's not connected to the Cockpit. I'm just going to do it as a serial singular port. Now let's go back into the game and let's see how this works. You can press mode. Oh, look at that. That's actually quite nice. Quantity just changing on the right side there in the fuel, different tanks. We can set our bingo, press and hold and it goes up. There we go. Down. Comment below what your favorite bingo number is on an average mission in the Persian Gulf zone. Oh, that's working really nice. And elapsed time. So that's pretty cool. And then we've got our brightness knob is not working. Let's see. Man off auto. A little bit of connection on that. It's probably a bit of tie over, that's fine. But that's not working. Let's have a look. Let us go and close BIOS. Let's get back into Arduino and just have a look at the code. So this is where it's defining all the pins, and I've got a feeling it's probably, yeah, there we go. This line here, line 116, it's defining this variable VRA IFEI 9. 9 is the pin number it is. Now, if we look at the interconnect, let me see if I can just quickly grab that up for you. Build package, and we want to go interconnect version 10. Scroll down to the lower instrument panel. And I'll show you. This here, VRA IFEI, is that variable that we're talking about. It's the analog input from the IFEI. The analog input. Have a look where it's connected to. It connects to pin D9 or A9. They've gone and defined it as a digital pin. You cannot get an analog reading 0 to 1023 through a digital pin. So all we've got to do is change it to an A. And then we're going to press upload. And trust me, that's going to work now. That's all it is. Just have a look at that. If your thing isn't working, go to the interconnect, see what it is. I need an analog value. It needs to be an analog pin. Reopen up the DCS BIOS controller, COM port 6. Let's get in our game. And there we go. That is working quite fine. So there we go. Have a look at that debugging. If something's not working, look back on all the knowledge we've learned and work out why it's not working. Like I said, episode 1 to 24, that's actually quite cool. Man, auto, good one. This one's not really tied to anything, but I'm sure they'll fix that. But otherwise, that just looks so cool. So there we have it. That was a really cool quick tutorial on how to export non-native exportable viewports. Now remember, 3-step tango for doing exports. Set up your monitors, step number 1. Number 2, tell DCS what you want to export. 3, tell DCS where and how you want to export it. And then the 4th little extra step, code it if you've got that ready to go. But yeah, nice quick tutorial. Go enjoy that. Next episode, I think we're going to start building a little bit more in the lower panels. I want to start looking at servos and steppers. But yeah, if there's anything you want to see, hit the comments below, let me know or send me a message. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty cool up and coming season. So yeah, as always, go enjoy some flight simming, stay safe as always, and I'll see you next episode.